All right, hello everyone. Thanks for joining in with us today. This is Chris at DecoNetwork. Thanks for joining in for today's live session. Today we're going to be going over the improvements included in our latest release. We just put out a release last week, 8.506, and we're going to be running through some of the highlights. As always, I like to kick it off by highlighting our Help Center, which you can access at help.deconetwork.com. This is probably the best resource as you're getting set up with your DecoNetwork system. This is also where we release the change log for every new update. If you scroll down to the bottom of our Help Center, you'll find our resources section. And let's go ahead and click into our release notes. So we've just put out 8.506. As you can see here, over nearly 250 tasks completed for this release. So obviously we're only going to have time to kind of take a look at some of the highlights. And that's what's included here in the release notes. So yeah, let's go ahead and get started here. Now I've kind of split these off into, some of these are web store changes, some are business hub changes, and some are admin configuration changes. So I'm going to run off my own list, but I definitely encourage anyone viewing this to check out our Help Center and jump into those release notes, go through, see what the details are. For quite a few of these, we also include a nice little animation kind of showing where the option is. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump right in. So I'm going to pull up my test account here. And let's get started with some of the website changes. So let's click into our admin section. The first improvement is we now have the ability to, for the consumer, to view the inventory amounts that you've specified for a product in the backend. Okay, so let's jump into a product and let's see if we can first set up a product with some inventory amounts. So I'll choose my first item here. and we'll click into the inventory section. So first thing, I'll enable inventory for this product. And then I'll go ahead and stock a few of these SKUs. So I'll just do the first few here at the top. And then I can enter in my inventory on hand amounts. I guess while we're here, I'll go ahead and mention on this change, which is part of another update, but I don't know if we had a chance to cover it before. We now have an option to specify whenever you're updating your inventory amounts, there's an option to specify a reason for the change. And that's good for obviously historical purposes. You can always click in and see the log of every change to a product's inventory. So that could come in quite handy. So I'm going to go ahead and save this change here. Meanwhile that's saving, I'll go ahead and say hi to everyone in the chat here. We've got Kai chiming in and Eastern Shore Screen Printing. Thanks guys for joining in. All right, so let's click over into our inventory settings, make sure everything's good here. Okay, so let's jump back to the site, click into our product section, and click into, I believe this is the item. Let me double check. Let's see, I'm not sure if that's the item. Let's jump into the website page editor. Make sure we have the option enabled here. So we'll need to turn this option on. This is the new option that you can turn on, Show Inventory Levels button. So let's turn that on and let's save and publish that change. Okay, now let's refresh our view product page. And we'll see right here, right below the kind of main pricing information, you have this new link, View Inventory Availability. Clicking on that will open up a pop-up. It'll show all of the SKUs for that product and the amounts on hand for that particular SKU. So we can see I only set them for the Admiral Blue, which is why every other SKU is showing kind of not available. But you can see these are the quantities I entered earlier. And so, yeah, this has been a request for quite some time for the ability to have the consumer see what the inventory amount is that you have on hand. So a nice little improvement there. All right, next let's take a look at some improvements to your decoration processes. So for this, we're going to jump into the main admin area, click into decoration processes. And we've added a new field for each decoration method, which is the description of that decoration method. We have always had, some description for each decoration method, but that's been kind of fixed, specified by us. We now allow you to change that description. And we also now display this description as part of the design tool. So let's first take a look at where this currently displays. So if I jump back onto my site here and I click Start Designing, okay, so yeah, first things here, when we go to add a design, we see we get this select type of design pop-up. So this would normally prompt the consumer to select, do you want DTG screen printing? We get the feedback oftentimes that the consumer is not necessarily going to know what the best option to pick here is. In the past, the way people provided more information to their consumer as far as which option to pick was to include some information as part of the name. So oftentimes we saw, for example, the screen print process renamed to screen printing 24 plus or 24 and above, right? Letting the customer know that's a better process for volume. But that could get kind of messy, you know, especially if you're trying to convey a longer set of information. So what we do instead now is, again, we've added this description, which can be displayed right below that specific decoration option. So now with this, you can go in and say, you know, screen printing, leave screen printing as the name. And then down here, you know, this is the default description that we've specified, but you can come in here and change it. You know, mention that it has volume discounts, for example. You know, you can change this wording, maybe best for high volume orders. Discounts available, something like that, right? So we can go ahead and save our description. And let's see, I changed it for screen printing. That product only offers DTG, so let me make a change to the DTG as well. So we'll change this to great for full color images. And we'll say good for one-offs. Okay, so let's save that change. Refresh our design tool. And if we click add design, so we see my change there to the description, great for full color images and good for one-offs. So it's a great way for you to convey to your customer more information about each process and how you handle the production and which option might be best for what they're trying to order. Kind of along those lines, there's an improvement in the design tool. If we jump over to our website section and we click into global designer settings. So by default, when you start setting up your system, there's this pop-up here that shows up when you load the designer. This is called the welcome pop-up. And the way this has worked traditionally is we auto-select your cheapest decoration process when this pop-up is enabled. So what that means is if I click add design, I don't get this pop-up here to select which method I may want to use. The system makes that determination for me. So if we, again, go back into global designer settings, scroll down to the bottom here, there's a new option, add item dialog with cheapest method selected. So we can now turn that off and save that change. So with that option disabled, if I refresh the designer here, and I click add design, I am now presented with that pop-up. So this is actually, you know, one of the most common requests that we get is, how do I stop the designer from auto-selecting screen printing, which is typically most people's cheapest decoration method. So we do now have that option. And again, that goes kind of hand in hand with that new description, so that you can always present your customer the different decoration method options and make it easier for them to make a choice between the available options. Great. Yeah, hey, Royal Screen Printing hopped on the chat. Welcome. All right, next up, we're going to jump into the website page editor, and we're going to take a look at a couple of improvements. One of them is regarding drop-downs. So if you go into the design tab of the page editor and you click into page options, we've always had the ability to turn drop-downs off completely, but we have been getting requests for the ability to turn drop-downs off on a page-by-page basis. So I may want the drop-down, for example, to stay for my products page, but I may not want the drop-down for the About page. And the About page is tricky to disable that for, because that drop-down is not generated by having sub-pages. Or it is, but those sub-pages are not ones that you can manage. Those are ones that are dynamically inserted by the system. And it's typically, if I close out of my designer here, it's things like your privacy policy, your terms and conditions, your returns policy, or your decoration method information pages. So again, some people may want to disable that. So what is now possible, if you click into your Pages tab and select a page that you want to turn drop-downs off for, you can click down into Advanced Settings, and you'll find this drop-down menu option now available. So default will listen back to that global option that we looked at earlier, whether they're set to show or hide. And then there's these two new options here, either display or hide. So I could go ahead and set it to hide. That'll turn it off just for my About page. I could go ahead and save and publish that change. And that way I'll be able to keep my drop down for the products page, which I want, but turn it off for the About page. So a nice little improvement there. Next, let's take a look at, we've added an option to display, to change how blank product descriptions are displayed on the blank product page. So let's jump into, first let's go into the web store here. So this is how product descriptions are displaying by default now. So right below the product title, you have kind of a small portion of the description that shows, with the option to expand and view the rest of that description. And then once you expand it, you can go back and hide it. And this is done primarily for a couple of reasons. One of them is on mobile, you don't have a lot of vertical space, so we want to make sure to preserve as much of that as we can. The other reason is a lot of the blank products that come in from the suppliers have some pretty long product descriptions, which would again kind of add to that, and even on desktop, eat up quite a bit of your vertical space here, and push the colors, the sizing, and pricing information below our screen fold here. So yeah, we try to preserve that vertical space, and so this is the default display layout, but we do get again, a lot of feedback from our users that they want to display that fully expanded description anyway, right? Despite the potential benefits there. So if we go into our page editor and we open up the View Blank Product page, we'll see we now have an option to start that description as fully visible. So Show Full Product Description, we can now set that to yes. And it'll remove that behavior of hiding that portion, hiding and showing it. So let's go ahead and apply that change here. So yeah, that should help out quite a bit of people that have been requesting for that. Again, the benefit there is when the descriptions are long. So if you're managing your own products and you're keeping your description short anyway, it makes sense that you might just want to display those without any kind of additional step required by the user. Great, let me just check my list here. All right, so next change we're going to take a look at, still here in the website page editor. This one is related to linking to specific pages. So I'll give some background on this. There are quite a bit of users that like to include in their navigation links to maybe a specific product category. The example I'll give is, right now I just have our products in the navigation, but some people like to have workwear, casual, t-shirts, right? They'd like to have all the different kind of primary major categories as part of their navigation, I guess reducing, the amount of clicks that might be required to get right into the products, right? So right now I would have to click into our products and then filter down to a specific category and then maybe find the item they want a little bit more direct, straight into t-shirts or workwear. Linking to those categories has been a little bit difficult up until now. The way most people ended up doing it because of the difficulty of linking to the category was adding a custom page. So, I would go in here and create a new page called T-shirts. As part of that T-shirts page, I would go into my widgets, drop in a blank product listing widget, and then in the category, drop down select T-shirts. Right, so it requires me to create a new page, manage a new widget, right? I have to go in and specify what I want that widget to look like, whether I want the name to be shown, where I want it to show. So it's a lot of work to do this type of setup, but despite that, this is the route that many users have taken. The option that we would usually recommend to avoid having all this overhead of having to manage 10 custom pages is to instead link directly to that category, to the products page with that category already selected. And so the way you would do that up until now is visit your products page, click into a specific category, and then note the URL of that page, copy that path, and then you could go into the page details and set the page status to link to external site, and then paste in the path. So it's kind of a bit of a workaround, right? You have to know the specific URL, and if you change that URL for whatever reason, you would have to go back and adjust those links. So neither of those options is ideal. So what we've now added is the ability to link to an internal page. So this helps both, linking to any of your main pages, but when you link to one of the main product pages, either your blank product page or your decorated product page, there's now a sub option to also select a specific category. So I could go in here and select T-shirts, for example. Right, and so that'll avoid me having to go in, grab the URL, paste it, set it as an external link. The system will just, it already knows the path to that specific category. And so it's a big time saver. And again, this would be recommended over doing the custom page, which is just way too much work, especially as you're managing, many different categories that you may want to include in your navigation. That just creates way too much work. So yeah, nice, great improvement there to allow you to link to specific product categories on both your blank products or decorated product pages. All right, moving along the list here. Yeah, on the topic of products here, there's a great improvement to decorative products. Let's see, I think, yeah, so I've got a decorative product here that we can use as an example. Let me jump into the decorative products for this store. Let's take a look at what this decorated item looks like in the design tool. So right now it just has a left chest graphic. Let's go ahead and add a screen print back design here, or we'll do it DTG for now. Let's just pick from one of these stock designs. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, we'll leave those colors as is. So let's go ahead and save and continue here. All right, let's give this a name other than default. And let's save that product. Okay, so we've got our scenario set up here. Let's refresh our product page here and click into the product. So you can see this design has, a not very interesting front design. It's got a left chest image there with some embroidered text. It's really the back design which you might want to highlight, right? It's got this nice multicolor image. Despite that, the system on your listing page, the page where you see the list of decorated products, is always going to display the thumbnail of that product as the first view that has some decoration on it. In this case, it's the front because the front has that left chest embroidered design. But we want to be able to showcase the back. It was possible previously, but it required you to configure that decorated product and then upload a custom listing image. So you had to prepare that image or save it out of the system and then re-upload it. So now we've made it a lot simpler. You can select which product view you want to be the default view for this item. So I could go in and for this item say I want the back to be the default view and save that change. And now if we take a look at our listing here, we'll see we're now seeing the back design as the thumbnail. If I click into the product, it'll still load up the back as the default image, but I can again go back and click into the front and see the front design. So it just allows you to pick which of the views that has been decorated on that you may want to highlight, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be the first one. It can be any of the ones that you've decorated, or actually it could also be, some blank view. If for whatever reason you want to highlight a view that doesn't have any design added to it, that's also a possibility. So yeah, this should add some good flexibility to anyone who's doing stores with lots of decorated products, and again, giving you that option to choose which of the views you want to highlight. Great improvement. Let's take a look. So we're just about at the end of the web store improvements. Then we'll jump into some of the Business Hub changes. Yeah, the last improvement to go over here on the web store is actually kind of tied to Business Hub. So let's actually jump straight into our Business Hub. I'll click into that. All right, so if we jump into our orders section, in DecoNetwork, whenever either you're recording a credit card payment for a customer or whether the customer is recording that for themselves, let's say maybe they've approved a quote and they're now on the payment screen, or you've created an order for them and sent them a payment request, the system has always used the customer's address information that's saved to their account, right? So it's the customer would have to know, for example, if let's say that they've submitted an order with their address, but maybe they're going to pay for the order with a company address, they would have to know to go into their account and change their contact details to reflect the address information of the card that they're going to pay with. So what we've done is we've added the ability to, when making a payment, specify a different address that you want to use along with that payment. So we have that option here in Business Hub. If we go in and do add payment, you can see these are the fields we had before. The ability to specify your card details. Down at the bottom, we now have this new use different address for payment option. It'll automatically populate with the address from the customer's account, but you could go in and change it and update that without updating the customer's account details. So it's kind of like a one-off billing information. Okay, that is also available from the customer's account section when they're logged in through the web store. Let's take a look at that. So we'll do email order, and we'll open that up in a new window here as a customer. So here's the customer account section. And if I go in and say pay balance, it'll bring me to the payment screen. Again, we get those familiar payment fields and this new option at the bottom, use different address for payment, which works the same way as it does in Business Hub. So this should be a great solution for, yeah, we were receiving this request for quite some time and from quite a bit of users. So great to have this finally added. And it's going to be a great option for those business to business customers, which again, oftentimes they're submitting orders and it might be one contact person within the business that's submitting the order and have their own address, but the person paying for the order might be using a company card with a completely different payment address. And so this is going to solve a lot of those issues that people were running into. Cool. Let's see here. We've got a few other Business Hub related improvements. Let's take a look at assigning a salesperson to an affiliate store. So normally for really any store that's taking sales from your account, orders would come in as unassigned to any specific salesperson. We have been getting requests from people to add the option to assign a salesperson to an entire store so that every order coming through that store is now assigned to the assigned salesperson. So if we take a look at my second store here, and we click into administration, I believe it's under account details. May have to double check actually. I think it's under checkout options. Yes. So store configuration, checkout options. We now have this salesperson drop down. The default is still none, which is the old behavior. But you can now come in here and select one of your sales team members to assign those incoming orders to. I can go ahead and hit save there to apply that change. And from now forward, any order submitted through this second store will be assigned automatically to that salesperson. This is useful if you at all do, we have a lot of people that have both internal and external sales teams. And they, despite the fact that we don't necessarily have a system to track sales team commissions, they may set up an entire store to work as a way to track those sales team member commissions, right? So even though it's only one sales organization, by setting up a different web store for each of their salespeople, and then every order from that store being assigned to that salesperson, they can kind of track commissions more easily. So yeah, this should be a great improvement on that. Let's see, question on the chat here or comment from Kai. I think this is regarding the last improvement we looked at for setting the default view for a decorative product. Yeah, so that's going to depend. Kai's asking whether side views are an option, right sleeve or left sleeve. It's definitely possible. That has to do more with what views are available on the blank product. So I'm not sure which blank the decorative product I looked at was built on, but let's open up a few blanks here and see. I think some of these should have side views, definitely. So we've got this one here. It does have left and side views, but those side views don't currently have any print areas assigned to them. And I think that's because I have them turned off. Yeah, so we can quickly cover that. If I were to go into decoration areas under my product section and click into, let's say, adult tops, I could turn on my left and right sleeve areas, both short and long. There's some other areas which you may want to turn on, like split body top, which is used on hoodies with a pocket on the front, on the lower front. And I won't apply this change now just because it takes time adding across many products. But yeah, so as long as you have views which have some decoration areas assigned to them, the system will allow you to pick those when setting the default view for your decorative products. And yeah, for the most part, the products that are coming from the DecoNetwork catalogs do have left and right views. You'll notice in a lot of cases those come in as illustrations rather than photographs, and that would have to do with what images are available from the supplier. So if we don't get from the supplier proper views for the sides, or even in this case for the front and back, you can see that the team just uses the next best option, which is kind of an illustration of that product or of a similar product. All right, continuing down the list here. So we've looked at assigning a salesperson to a specific store. Next, let's take a look at disabling the notification bars or notification alerts that come through to the Business Hub. So let's see if I can get one to show here. I think if I edit the order and then hit cancel edits, we may see a notification. Yep, so this notification alert that you see coming across the top, if you have an organization where you have lots of team members working in your Business Hub, and they're all doing different things, whether it's saving orders, marking orders as produced, maybe canceling edits to an order, all those notifications get sent to everybody across the board. And we've gotten feedback that can be a little bit distracting and annoying as you're trying to work within your system. So we have added an option based on that feedback to just turn off those notifications completely. Let's take a look at that. So jumping back into our admin area, and just close off some of these tabs. We'll click into our settings section, and we're going to click into production and order settings, and we'll find the new section here, Business Hub notifications. Just one option here, disable Business Hub notifications. So pretty straightforward. We'll go ahead and save that change and refresh our Business Hub. So with that option enabled, we'll no longer see those sliding alerts coming down from the top of our Business Hub. And that should help to, again, keep people focused, avoid any kind of distractions. We have accounts where 30, 40 team members are all working within the same Business Hub. And I could imagine that could get pretty distracting along the way. So a nice improvement there. We're going to take a look at one more improvement here in Business Hub before jumping into some of the admin changes. So the last improvement here is the ability to merge purchase orders. Let's see, I may have to create a purchase order to show this off here. Let me create a PO and include just one of the items. So I've got one PO for SNS, and then I'll create a second one, also for SNS. Okay, so now I have two open POs, both for SNS. Previously, there was no way to merge two POs together. So even though I had these two POs, if I wanted to combine them, what I would have to do is delete the PO, which would move those items back into the awaiting purchase order stage. Once they were available again, I could go back into the purchase order section, choose create purchase order, and when prompted, I could choose the option to merge it into one of my already open POs. But again, in the kind of with the desire to streamline things and make it easier to make that action, which is a common one that people do, we now added the merge into existing option. When you're viewing a purchase order, there is one requirement, which is that purchase order must be unsent. And that's most critical for purchase orders that are going through the live ordering process, right? If you've already sent a PO to Sanmar or SNS using the live ordering feature, we're not going to allow you to merge that into another one because it's already been sent to the supplier. So that is the one requirement. But let's go ahead and click merge into existing. We'll see our other SNS purchase orders listed here. I can go ahead and choose merge into existing, hit OK. The system is going to close out that purchase order that I was looking at and take me straight to the PO that that's the new PO with both items combined. Okay, so definitely nice option there to streamline your purchase ordering or merging of existing POs. All right, coming almost to a close here on the improvements that we're going to cover today. The next one we'll take a look at is related to batch stores. And let's see, I may actually have to turn on this feature so we can discuss it. Okay, so we're going to be looking at my affiliate store here. Batch production is something that we've had for a long time, but recently this year we really made some major improvements to it and allowed for the ability to treat it more kind of like the campaign stores where you can do things like set a date, an open date or a close date for the store. You can add a countdown timer to a batch site. As far as Business Hub, any batch stores get merged or displayed together under a batch stores section. So yeah, it's seen a lot of improvements, but we're still getting feedback of ways that we can improve it even further. And one of those requests was the ability to determine the due date of orders submitted through a batch site. Even with the improvements that we made earlier this year, the due date for an order was still based on when that order was placed. And we got quite a bit of feedback that for a batch site, you may not want that to be the case, right? You may want the due date to be based off of, let's say, when the store closes, or maybe after a specific, like a week after the store closes or something along those lines, right? So we have a couple options here. So I'm going to take a look at my my affiliate store here, and I'm going to go ahead and set a close date for December 22nd, so a week from now. And I'm going to open this store. Let's say it opened yesterday, so let's go ahead and save the changes there. And now we're going to go back into administration and production options. So these are the new options available here. Under order due date calculation. So we can keep it as it always has worked, which is to calculate the due date based on when the order was placed. We can calculate using the store close date, which is probably the option that most people will want. It's kind of like the store closed. Now we can determine how long it's going to take for us to produce these orders. Or the last option here is for you to manually specify when you would want to produce those, right? So let's say the store closes on the 22nd, but I don't want to calculate based on that date because we're taking a holiday break from the 22nd. We're not coming back until, let's say, January 4th, right? So I may want to calculate based on that date. So again, just a lot of flexibility there as far as when you want the orders to calculate their due date on. The only difference I would kind of mention here is these two are calculated dates. So, calculate based on when the order was placed, or calculate based on when the store closes. The system still goes through the calculation, which looks at your production days. So, what you have your production time set to, whether 9 days or production 15 days, and then we also allow you to set your days of the week that you run production. we'll just quickly have a glance at that. So you can set what are your default production days. I have mine set to 15. Right now I have it set that I do production all week long. You might have Saturday and Sunday turned off. You may also have some blackout dates for holidays and things like that. So these first two options go through that same calculation. This last option does not. So here you're actually setting the final date that you want for all those orders. So just keep that in mind. This one works a little bit differently. So here you're saying that the orders would be ready on this day. All right, so yeah, great improvement to batch productions. We're continuing to make improvements to batch production as we receive additional feedback. So keep that coming. Let's see, we have a question in the chat from Eastern Shore Screen Printing. So when merging POs, if those POs have two different reference values in the reference field, will the resulting PO show both? That's a great question. I'm not sure. I would have to double check. So we won't jump back into that, but yeah, we can definitely check that out for you. If you have that question, feel free to submit it as a support ticket, and I'm sure we can find the answer for you. Great question, though. All right, so we've got a couple last changes to look at here today. The first one is related to our accounting integrations, accounting software integrations. So let's jump into our reports section and click into accounting software integration. I have my system set up to link to QuickBooks Online. Let's click into the configure page, which is where we set up how we want this DecoNetwork account to sync into QuickBooks. So to give kind of the background on this change, since this option was introduced, we've synced information only once an order is marked as invoiced, right? So really the idea behind the accounting software integration, it's not to quote your customers through QuickBooks or to take payments through QuickBooks. It's to do everything in Business Hub, but then take that sales information and push it to an accounting package, mainly for like year end of year purposes, right? Like getting a tax report for all of the orders and sales that you took that year. But again, everybody uses the system in their own way, and we did get some requests for people that wanted orders coming into their accounting software even prior to being invoiced in the DecoNetwork Business Hub. So I'm not going to be able to show it here. It looks like I need to reconnect my QuickBooks account. But essentially, it's a toggle that we now have for you to choose whether you want to sync orders once they're invoiced or once they're ordered. Essentially, as long as the order is saved and placed, it'll start to sync those over. So I don't imagine many people will use that option, but it is there for those that need it. I still would recommend most people to leave it on invoiced. That's the option that really makes most sense. That's when the payments are going to come over and things like that. I could see potentially you might run into some issues if you start syncing orders before they're invoiced, and your team tries to work with those orders in your accounting software, marking them as paid. You may run into some sync errors. So just keep that in mind. But for those that need it, it's going to be a good option. All right, so let's take a look at the last new improvement here in the admin area. This is related to commission payouts. So in DecoNetwork, there's obviously the ability to set up affiliate stores for you to track commissions earned by those stores and pay them out. There's an option to do those commission payouts electronically through PayPal Mass Payments. But PayPal Mass Payments isn't offered in every region. For example, just off the top of my head, I know in UK, I don't think that's available. So we do have an option for you to just record commissions as having been paid. And you could obviously, pay those externally any way you want, whether that's cutting the store a check or cash, or maybe store credit that they can use to buy more product, whatever the case is. You would still want to record those commission amounts as paid so that they don't continue to accrue in the system and display as pending commissions to be paid out. So let's click into the website section. Doesn't look like I have too many commissions here, but let's take a look. Let's manage my primary store. Click into administration and choose store commission settings, which is the screen where we can initiate an external commission payout. So let's click record external payment. So we've had this screen before. The improvement is kind of just a time saver, the ability to bulk select orders that you want to mark as paid through an external commission payout. So yeah, this is going to be a real time saver actually. I, in my case, only have 2 orders that are due a commission payout, but we do have customers with orders that have, hundreds, thousands of commission payouts that are due. And previously that did require, going through and ticking each and every box. So yeah, this is going to be a big time saver. You can now just select the box at the top of the table, and it'll go through and select all the orders. If you do need to deselect some, you still can. So let's say you're paying out for a specific month, select all, get everything in there, and then uncheck maybe the recent ones, which might be from the next month. So yeah, great improvement for those that don't have access to the automatic commission payouts and need to record their external commission payments. This should be a big time saver. Great, so yeah, I think that's just about the full list of highlights from the 8.506 update. Again, I recommend everyone who tuned in, even though we kind of covered all of these, feel free to jump back into the release notes, kind of get a refresher, a reminder of everything that we covered today, as well as some, some of these have some nice animations that kind of show off the change. Besides that, I'll also mention, there are lots of other improvements that we did not have time to cover here. Both new features as well as bug fixes. So anytime that there's a new DecoNetwork update, we come back into the Help Center and release those change logs. So feel free to kind of keep an eye on the Help Center release notes section. This is going to be the last update for the calendar year as we're coming close to 2020. You can keep an eye for the next update, 8.507, into the new year. First quarter, we should have the next update ready. And let's take a look here. I just want to highlight again all of the available support channels for existing customers. Again, the top recommendation is to check out the Help Center. This is both where you can search for help articles, help videos. Our YouTube channel is another great resource. And keep in mind, you can also submit support tickets, and we do also have the phone support available during business hours. For anyone who's not yet a DecoNetwork subscriber, I recommend you to head over to our website, DecoNetwork.com, book a tour, and check in with one of our client services team members. They can walk you through the system and help you determine if DecoNetwork is a good fit for your business, and show you how you can benefit from all of these features that we discussed today. All right, so thanks everyone for joining in to today's live session. Appreciate everyone in the chat. Kai, Royalty Screen Printing, Eastern Shore Screen Printing, thanks for tuning in. And we'll catch you guys on the next stream. Take care.